Despite another disappointing showing from the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett was a one-man wrecking crew in Foxborough this past Sunday, turning in a historic performance even as the Browns fell 32-13 against the New England Patriots. While Drake May and the Pats cruised to their 5th straight win, Garrett did everything within his power to disrupt their offense, setting the single-game franchise record in Cleveland with 5 sacks on the day. In the process, he also surpassed Hall of Famer Reggie White for the most career sacks before turning 30. He also climbed to 27th on the NFL's all-time sacks list after this performance. Now sitting tied for the league in sacks, Myles Garrett continues to prove week in and week out why he's one of the most feared defenders in football. In this breakdown, we're going to dive into exactly how Myles Garrett used his elite athleticism and technique to dominate this Patriots offensive line and lived in the backfield on Sunday. And at the end of the video, we're going to dive a little bit into the trade rumors around Myles and discuss if there's any reality where he's actually moved at the deadline this Tuesday. Speaking of Reggie White, Myles Garrett pulled out a number of disgusting hump moves, and this one was great early on in the first quarter. Lined up to the left side of the screen, he converts speed to power exceptionally well and gets a QB hit on Drake May. And while the pass is still completed, he still, again, is able to put on a great rep there against Morgan Moses. And I'll run that back a little bit slower again, as you can see, lined up really wide outside of Hunter Henry, gets the speed rush going and converts it to power and throws Morgan Moses off with that inside arm. Just ridiculous strength from Myles Garrett, as we know that he's one of the freakier athletes in the NFL. Myles saw chips and double teams all day, but that did not stop him from getting into the backfield and sacking Drake May, avoiding the chip there from Hunter Henry, and then a ridiculous dip and bend around Will Campbell to pick up the sack there on Drake May. His second sack of the day was just pure power. He's lined up on the left side of the screen, which is the right side of the defensive formation, and he's going to show late as he slants across Will Campbell's face and just drives the left guard into the lap of Drake May and is able to disengage and find the sack there. And if I run this one back again in slower motion, again, you're just able to see how much ground he's able to cover. These first couple steps that he takes on the pass rush lead him really wide, which Will Campbell properly sets him. He then pushes inside, crosses Will Campbell's face. The guard does a decent job at attempting to pass it off, but then he just drives the guard all the way back into Drake May's lap. He's not able to anchor up fast enough, and then he disengages, gets those big paws around Drake May, and is able to bring him down for his second sack of the day. So able to win with speed and finesse, and then with just pure power, driving and collapsing the pocket into Drake May. Again, we're just 2 sacks in, 3 more to go. Years down the line, I feel like Will Campbell is going to do an interview and say that this game was his welcome to the NFL moment, because Myles Garrett was absolutely unblockable in this one. It felt like he had game breaker going, for those of you that remember the old school NFL street games. He's going to be lined up to the left side of the screen here, just inside of Hunter Henry's flexed out tight end alignment. He's going to fight through a chip block and just instantly dips around and beats Will Campbell and gets the forced fumble. Now the Browns are unable to recover it, but this is that game wrecker type stuff that we see from Myles Garrett all the time in Cleveland. And again, just running this back a little bit slower so that you can really appreciate how athletic this is coming off of that chip block. Again, he's clearly the furthest person away from a pass rush perspective, but Will Campbell stands no chance to be able to block him with that type of speed and power that he's able to get to. Gets around Will Campbell, and then also has the wherewithal, sees where the ball is on Drake May, and swipes at it right as he's pulling apart to look to throw it. Gets the forced fumble, again, unable for Cleveland to be able to pick this one up. But again, these are the type of game-wrecking plays that made Myles Garrett one of the most expensive players in NFL history. Another great example of why having an elite pass rusher can patch up so many deficiencies on your defense. The Patriots here are going to actually boot at Myles Garrett. And so he goes unblocked here and is able to chase down Drake May when there is a very much open receiver running towards the back of the end zone. And if Drake May can just get the ball off, this is a touchdown. But having a guy as ridiculous of an athlete as Myles Garrett is, he's able to track down Drake May in space and picks up his fourth sack of the day with more than half of the third quarter to go at this point in the game. It's still relatively close. It's a 9-point game at this point in time. But again, just able and the ability to be an athlete in space is rare for anybody of that size ever. Not just football player, but athlete, period. To be able to track down Drake May. And again, if I pause it really quickly here, this is a pitch and catch level throw. This is wide open in the NFL. He can put it anywhere in this amount of green grass, and this is most likely going to be a touchdown if he can just get the ball off. But Myles Garrett is relentless. He's fast, and he is pursuing Drake May to get his fourth sack of the day at this point. For his last sack on the day, this was the first one that I didn't think was completely Myles Garrett just absolutely dominating the offensive line and really kind of got some assistance from some other D linemen here to get him to the quarterback. So he's again lined up out wide here. He's going to be going up against Morgan Moses. And this interior defensive lineman here, this is number 51, which I believe is Mike Hall. He's going to get some really good interior pressure against this guard, kind of turns him around. And that kind of trips up Morgan Moses, it looks like a little bit. Now Mike Hall, again, falls down after this, so he isn't able to pick up the sack, but that does kind of spring Myles Garrett free. Pocket is kind of collapsing at a lot of angles. Drake May just kind of has to tuck it and eat it. Myles Garrett picks up his fifth and final sack on the day. But again, a lot of this is really created by some great interior pressure from really both of Cleveland's interior linemen on this play. So both Mike Hall and Shelby Harris doing a great job of collapsing the pocket into Drake May's face. Myles Garrett kind of cleans up the scraps there and picks up sack number 5 to cap off his dominant day. Even though at this point in the game they were down 23, 5 sacks in a game is ridiculous video game type stuff. In this game, Myles Garrett was visibly frustrated on the sideline, slamming his helmet down on the ground, and you can just see in the emotion of his face. One would assume he's probably really tired of being in a losing situation like Cleveland. Now, I know many of you are saying this is kind of what he chose when he rescinded his own trade offer, looking to leave Cleveland after they opened up the checkbook for him and at the time made him the highest paid pass rusher, and I believe, if I remember correctly, the highest paid non-quarterback ever in NFL history. You kind of are signing up. You knew what Cleveland was going to be to be a part of a losing organization, at least for a little while longer, as they kind of sort out their entire QB situation. With all of that, and obviously kind of this situation that occurred on the sidelines, people have started to drum up the rumors that maybe there's a world where he gets moved at the deadline. I thought that would be entirely unlikely until I saw this breakdown from Spotrac, who, shout out to them, do a great job of kind of showcasing the different cap hits that these contracts would have for a team that would be acquiring any of these star talents. And essentially, the majority of the contract is backloaded at the year 2029 and beyond. And for those of you that don't know, 2029 is the year that the salary cap is actually going to likely increase by a decent margin based on the new CBA that the NFL has signed. So there's a chance that this $57.9 million cap hit that he would have is not as big as it initially seems based on the current cap outlook here in 2025. Essentially, trading for Myles Garrett over the next 3 years carries an effective guarantee of 3 years, $98.8 million, which is not nearly as bad as it kind of seems when you zoom out and look at the entirety of the contract, which is, well over $150 million. So, with that being said, do I think Myles Garrett is going to be traded at the deadline? No. I do not think that the Cleveland Browns would risk potentially trading away arguably the best defensive player in football, who's still in his prime. I think that they understand kind of what happened with Jerry and Micah Parsons, that it's just, you don't find guys of his caliber through the draft, through free agency. They're extremely rare. He's an all-time great. Those are not guys that you trade away point blank, period. So while I think teams are probably going to be calling the Browns incessantly over the next couple of days leading into the trade deadline, offering young players, multiple first-round picks, a absolute haul, I'm sure. I don't think there's a world that Cleveland actually pulls the trigger on it. Teams like the Bills, I've heard, have potentially been linked to trying to figure that one out. Obviously, a team like the Cowboys would have the cap space to bring it in. I don't think that would make sense for them either. I just really can't imagine a scenario where Myles Garrett gets traded, but I also couldn't have imagined a scenario where Micah Parsons got traded as well, and we see how that ended up with him now on the Packers. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how this plays out over the next couple of days leading into the trade deadline and then through the season as a whole with Myles Garrett. How long can he tolerate being a part of this losing situation in Cleveland? He made it very clear this past offseason that he wants to win Super Bowls. He's not just about the individual accolades, which he's racking up a ton of, and rightfully so, but he wants to push for great team greatness and be a part of a team that's looking to compete for a Lombardi trophy and not just rack up DPOY. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one all plays out. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Myles Garrett is actually going to be traded either at the deadline or in this offseason, or is he going to be in Cleveland for the foreseeable future? If you enjoyed this type of content, please consider giving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss another one of the uploads. I'll continue to bring more film breakdowns. Upcoming this week, I'm probably going to be putting out my mid-season awards list as well as reacting to all of the trades that happen around the NFL trade deadline. So make sure you stay locked in for those. As always, I appreciate the support, and I'm out.